Based on reports, if you think about it, NASCAR 25 is less than a year away. So with that, I had it on my mind, what stuff could they add in? What things that I loved about other NASCAR games could be added in just to make a normal, good experience? And I got 7, so let's roll right on into it. Not gonna lie, this one's pretty basic and downright pathetic, honestly, but just work. Seriously, if we can just get a game that works, we will already be better than anything that was released past 2020. Just have the bare minimum to start off with. I want to be able to drive around in circles, go in pit road, do my thing, whatever. That would put it, again, better than any other game in the last 5 years. Granted, there was only one in the last 5 years because of how bad that game was. I can't say it any other way, really. I just want to be able to sit down when I have 30 minutes free and run a 30-minute race at Atlanta. That's it. Secondly, looking back from the Technics games, I want a very detailed paint booth. I want something that sparks my creativity that I can get lost with instead of actually doing the racing at times. Yeah, it kind of sounds counterintuitive to get a racing game and spend hours upon hours not racing, but when you look at some of the great paint schemes that people have made in the Technics series, well, then that alone should tell you why I would want that. I want to be able to make some of my own creative ones. I want to be able to make old school ones, like maybe the Dale Jr. Bud 8 that's coming back, a Dale Earnhardt 3, a Richard Petty car, whatever it might be. I want to be able to make whatever I want. And I'm betting, speaking of sparking creativity, that a lot of the current young designers that are designing schemes in the NASCAR Cup, Xfinity, and Truck Series, well, I'm betting that a lot of them did start out, at least early on, with NASCAR games, especially the Technics games. I mean, think about it. A game like NASCAR, the game Inside Line, that came out around 2012, 2013-ish, give or take, well, a 14-year-old back then getting into designing will probably be in their mid to late 20s around now. So, just saying. There's probably a lot of people that stemmed off from there. And if you can use some of these schemes online, I get that you'll probably run into a bit of trouble when it comes to inappropriate schemes or whatever. But I'm betting that if you use these online, it would be a really fun way to identify other players. And for some of those who are really good, or for maybe some of those like me who would be on YouTube streaming, you'd be able to say, wow, I'm racing with so-and-so, or that guy has been kicking ass lately, or hey, that YouTuber Iceberg really sucks at this. I just lapped him again. It's a 5-lap race. How did that happen? Either way, you'd be able to identify those other players, and I think it would make a better community base. Speaking of online, I want online mode to work well. I want there to be able to be features to have private lobbies, and I just want there to be an ability for me to connect with other people. It's the quickest way to get a steady customer base. Have them be a solid community. You have a bunch of people that want to race with each other. They're going to get whatever new stuff you release. They're going to get the new games. They're going to follow you much closer. iRacing should know this. I mean, they've been doing it on their own platform for the better part of 2 decades. So I think that they definitely can do that. They can bring at least a semblance of a usable and real online lobby way of making leagues again. Remember, back in the day before the Heat series, there were some pretty good leagues out there for the console gaming base. And there were some other attempts, one that I was a part of, that did not work out because of how janky the Heat series online modes were. And the thing is, honestly, it just needs to be fun. When it worked well, NASCAR Heat 4 Online was actually a ton of fun. I remember one of the first nights after it released, I and a bunch of other YouTubers and community members got into private lobbies, about 30, 35 of us, and raced at Talladega just over and over again. And we were able to actually make the super speedway racing really good. Race 2, 3, 4 wide in that, and it was a ton of fun. I want to be able to do that again. And I think this should be just as big of a goal for them as getting the racing to work well. Now, another one that I want is one of my just personal preferences, and that is a top-tier soundtrack. NASCAR Thunder 2004, man. I still listen to the soundtrack from that. That was, I think, what sparked me to be an Avenged Sevenfold fan, which to this day, I still love those songs like Chapter 4. Obviously, you'd have to modernize it. I don't want a bunch of songs from 2003, but I think you could definitely get a lot of good ones from the modern day, and a lot of them that can cross palettes. Now, one way that I really want them to go back to the old school is no microtransactions. I don't care how long it takes, just make a finished game. I don't want to play a game, and I've done this before, where I have to buy the finished product because it's so janky that you have to add other stuff in that I'll have to buy. I don't want to have to pay for schemes that should have already been in there. I don't want to pay for tracks that should be in there or lower series stuff that should be in there. All of that stuff needs to be there from the beginning. If it means that you have to push back the release of the game, push it back. We will understand. I would rather have a game that's released later than it should be than a game that's released jankier than it should be. And listen, I get if you have season updates. Like, if you want to just have one game cover a 3 or 4 year span and you have to update it, but it might cost $15 for the 2026 expansion pack or 2027 down the line, okay. I get that because that was a lot of probably work that had to be done, especially if you have real updates that make the game better. Okay, whatever. Another one I want is a career mode that works, and I'm going back to NASCAR Thunder 2004 again. I know a game from 2003 should not be the pinnacle of this for NASCAR gaming, but it is. I want something that's in-depth, interactive, and gratifying to finish. I want it to be in-depth because, well, I want to know the ins and outs of my career and make real choices that could affect it. I want it to be interactive, sponsorships. I want there to be maybe the fan side of it too, merchandise, all of that stuff. Maybe have it where if you're owning a team and you're at the lower end, you could be in trouble of losing your charter and then have to build it all the way back up to buy another charter down the line if NASCAR doesn't grant you the ability to keep yours. That would be something that'd be very gratifying because if I move from that low-level team up to a team that's in the playoffs or a team that's competing for a championship, I would feel very gratified knowing my hard work paid off over the seasons. And add in the lower series to work your way up as well. Just add a ton of replayability. And lastly, good physics. This goes with a working game, but while at least the Heat games weren't that great, at least their physics were decent enough that they were understandable. They're better than the last game, but they need to be better than the Heat games. I should not be going into the corner of a road course, putting on 2 wheels like I'm Tony Hawk. I just want the cars to respond as they should. No quicker way would there be to take me out of a game, or a race in this matter, than a weird crash or an online ping-ponging or whatever. It just gets me pissed off, and I don't want to play your game at that point. Got to get the physics right, both offline and online. So if you notice, a lot of these are just the main points that people bring up that they want, and I think that's kind of the point. We have already had the peak of NASCAR gaming. Our expectations are so low, we just want a game matching what it was 20 years ago. So that I want to know what you think. What do you want from old NASCAR games, and what do you want that NASCAR games never have had before? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel for more great and fun NASCAR content. Thank you so much to all my channel members for your continued support, and be sure to watch NWP tonight on Eric Estep's channel. Should be a lot of fun. So until then, have a good one.